holidays. My name is Debbie Williams, and I am here coming into your homes from the news and more. We have, and here in Michigan, the Department of Human Services said if any restaurant owners would like to get involved with the new, the bridge card, where people who get food on a bridge card, they can use that same bridge card to go get meals, cook meals from local restaurants. But the owners, they have to sign up with Department of Human Services. We're also going to tell you about a situation that happens to a lot of parents and family members and grandparents in the state of Michigan, plus in other states, where people are having their children taken wrongfully, many people. And this holiday is going to be very sad for a lot of people, today, tomorrow, where people have to cope with their children not being with them because they have been wrongfully taken. And so my prayers go out to you all, because I know it's a heartbreaking thing for your child to be taken and you can't see them and no one listen to you. So I'm here. And I also want to share a video with the public about my situation. I have a video that is called a informational documentary on what happened to me, and it's very personal. And a lot of people say, "Oh, why Debbie? Why do you share so much personal information?" Because I want people to know you're not the only one in the situation. It's not against anyone. We just want the system to be able to see if it's wrongdoing, if it's a mistake. We want it to be corrected, just the way things are corrected in the past with like wrongful conviction now of the marijuana. We know that things can happen where people one day can get their loved ones back again. And we're going to share this video. And also you can watch this on, you can watch this channel, download WHPR TV on Roku, Apple TV, Comcast 90, and it come on from 7 a.m. to 12 noon. And then the local channels in Wayne County, that's 15.1 and 15.2. And also we have Amazon Echo, Facebook, YouTube, the radio we can see, Alexis, and Google. And right now, if you miss anything, you definitely can go back and look at all these channels, through these channels here. All right, and now if you want to call in, if you can't do it today, then next month, our number is 313-365-73, I think I got it wrong, 7327 and 365-7379. And the area code is 313. And so we're going to go into a video so people can see how, in my situation, I was accused of abuse and neglect, and I have personal evidence out there, and I want you to sit back and watch this and call a friend. Thank you.
Shantella Tucker, Mario Tucker, and Joseph Williams were wards of this court. Ms. Williams was found responsible by the court for behavior that included child abuse, erratic and neglectful conduct. So placement with Ms. Tucker is denied, and we'll proceed with the hearing on the supplemental petition.
My name is Mario Tucker. Speaking on behalf of my mother and my siblings, we were taken away from my mom and we were put in foster care.
She was always a perfect tenant. She always paid on time. Debbie was not that type of tenant. She was an ideal tenant.
In the past with my mother, she's an excellent mom. She's been there for us. She's been my biggest supporter growing up as a youth up until the point that I am now. And I give credit to her because I've been through a lot of different circumstances in my life. My mom's always been there for me. I remember times when I was a young child, from birthdays, going to church. She's always kept us in a church, always kept us level-headed, kept positive people around us to make sure that she was supporting us and our ideals in order to grow as young men in this society. I remember times that we, had trips where we went to Disneyland and Universal Studios by her being a single mom and a single parent. Just trying to make sure that she made ends meet and making sure that, we felt that we were well taken care of and well deserved and special in so many regards.
Most people don't understand how traumatizing it can be for a family when CPS removes their child or children. It's not until you have a caseworker show up at your home with the police and they take your children away from you and take them to an unknown location that you can fully understand just how hard it is. But it's not just difficult for the parents and the children, it can be just as painful for the relatives. I've worked with a lot of people like Debbie, loving grandparents, aunts, uncles, and cousins who have to fight the system to get their family members out of foster care. Let me be clear. The federal law and the law in Michigan requires that relatives get preferential placement of children. Yet, why is it so many relatives are still denied placement? Unfortunately, relatives encounter problems in the system for many reasons. One of the biggest reasons is that the agency often deems them inappropriate if they support the parent. In other words, if the grandparent or other relative wants to help the adult parent through a drug problem or a mental health problem, then that relative is viewed as being a part of the problem. The reality is, just because you want to help the parent doesn't mean you can't also protect or provide care for the child. Another problem relatives face is when a child is placed in a foster home. It puts the relatives in the position of having to compete with the foster parents for placement of their own relatives. It's heart-wrenching when children are removed from their parents. It becomes even more tragic when relatives are denied the chance to provide children safe, familiar, and comfortable home when their parents can't do so.
All right, my name is Margie R. Braxton, and I retired in December of 2016 from the Wayne County Circuit Court, where I had presided for 24 years. Prior to that, I was an attorney for 9 years. Prior to that, I was a court reporter for 15 years. And that's my background. I am a retired judge at this time. But I was also a landlord, and the property that Ms. Debbie Williams moved in, I had since 1972. It was a small unit, and that was one reason why I did all the leases and made sure that each apartment was in good order and condition before I moved anyone in there. Now, and anyone who says that they talked to me and I said you didn't live there, that is untrue. I never got a call, and my telephone number was right in the front of the building. I would have been the person who got that telephone call. So the individuals who indicated that they spoke to me and I said you didn't live there, it's a lie, because that never happened. And that was one reason I always kept my number out front on a big sign, so that if they had some issue with the apartment or wanted to find out if I had any vacancies or anything of that nature, I kept that sign outside and they could always reach me directly. I never directed anyone who lived in the building to take care of my business as it relates to renting any of those units.
If I could just add
contacted the apartment complex that Ms. Schneider went out to, because there was a question about where the grandmother lived. It was ambiguous, and her name does not appear on the lease anywhere.
Okay, that was my understanding.
Because in 1965, they passed a law that allowed them to drug the kids. At that time, they went into the schools and told us, they came to my school and said that your parents can no longer spank you, and if they do, call the police.
The file is 1264 NA. May I have your names, please?
Good afternoon, Logan Farina, on behalf of our grandmother, Ms. Debbie Williams.
Good afternoon, Mr. Farina.
Debbie Williams, Shania's maternal grandmother. Thank you.
Good afternoon. A week ago, the court ordered a home study on Ms. Williams. If one had not already been done, as Ms. Richards testified, one was done in Malik Tucker's case. Ms. Schneider did another one for somewhat similar reasons. Both home studies, as I read them, were denied.
Am I understanding correctly that the only reason why you have found the grandmother inappropriate was because of her inability to communicate with professionals?
I wouldn't. It's not just her inability to communicate. I think her communication style is very aggressive. She refers to the children as being kidnapped. The removal. She has a lack of understanding of why the children were removed in the first place.
When you conducted your home study, did you get an opportunity to actually review her residence?
I didn't complete a home study. That was Schneider.
You did from Malik?
The Orchard Children's Services did that.
Okay. And did they report to you anything regarding whether her home was suitable?
I believe her home was suitable. The physical home?
Correct. Yes. So your understanding is that there were no issues regarding the actual placement in the home itself, more along the lines with the maternal grandmother and her overall interaction with the child's caregivers.
Yes.
If you have been given the calling to be the leader of your flock, and you not out there in the trenches like a good shepherd would be when his sheep are lost, then you are not fulfilling what God has told you to do, and you are not in that seat behind the pulpit to become an entertainer. You are in that seat so you can rise up and fight for what is right, and you're supposed to have the courage to go up against anyone.
Debbie Williams did reside in one of my apartment buildings. Debbie resided at 15111 Greenfield in the city of Detroit, Michigan. She was a tenant. I was the owner. It was a small 14-unit building, and I always executed and did have leases. And you did move in my building, and I had a lease that was signed by yourself and by me. I was the sole person who prosecuted anyone who became a tenant, and I was the only person that also filled out a lease with the tenant. Just myself, no one else. The other people residing there were just tenants, and I never asked any of them to do that. I always did that myself. When you say door, actually what you're speaking about is the lock. There was a lock, of course, on each door, and these two units were side by side. and for some reason or another, the lock was malfunctioning. So, and the one that malfunctioned was the first unit where I had signed you in as a tenant. But because we had difficulty trying to make the lock operate the way it should, I had an individual to come out and look at it, and he said it would take quite a bit of time. So what he did was he made sure the one that I wanted to move you into was working properly, and that's the only reason we switched from one unit to the other. That was the only reason. I have known Debbie, I can't remember the exact amount of years, but at least 8 or 9, maybe 10 years. And I might also indicate that at one time she resided in one of my apartment buildings that was further west than Greenfield. And she was always a perfect tenant. She always paid on time. I never had to ask her about individuals going in and out, making noise, calling the police. Debbie was not that type of tenant. She was an ideal tenant, ideal. And she did stay at my unit. I had 2 units, and one was on Finkel near Telegraph, and Debbie resided there some years ago, and a perfect tenant.
Save the babies. Save the babies.
Welcome. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Without you guys, this event would be nothing. We need you guys here. It's very important that even if it's just 10 people here, we need you here. So what is going on? We have a system that betrays that they're working within the law, and it's not true. We do have, I want to say this first, we have a lot of social workers, attorneys, public defenders that's doing a great job. But then you got the others and social workers and supervisors that is working unethical, working under the color of law, working under the color of office. And they will portray and say things like, we need more foster parents. We need more foster parents. But then when parents and provide relatives and say, I want my mother, I want my grandmother, I want my aunt to have my child, and that parent, that relative is deemed suitable, they will put on the report that that parent, that grandmother, that aunt, that uncle is not deemed suitable, or they looked for certain family members and they didn't. That's the game is played. And then you have other games played. And you know, we talk about child trafficking. That's a big thing. It's so sad. If you alienating family members, and you playing under the color of office and pretending like you looking for this family member, or you look for that family members, or that family member is not deemed suitable, you alienate that child from their whole generation. They won't ever find any relatives, never. So they go in the hands of people that pretend like they love them, and then they out there being trafficked, and now they out there on drugs. Now they out there as young as prostituting, having babies, or whatever. That go hand in hand. Department of Human Services have a website about trafficking, but don't even understand they are the biggest part of causing our children to be trafficked. That is so, it's sad. That's what I'll say, it's sad. So I want to show you, I'm here, like Dolores Lyons said, I've been trying to get my grandchildren. I had been in the system a long time ago, and it was evidence that there was hardcore evidence that I did not abuse my children, but they ignored it. And that's what they do a lot of times. They ignore evidence and keep you in the system. And first it goes, you got the first responders. Who is that first responder? Who want to know who's the first responders? Huh? Social workers. The social workers. So you get a call, which that call is very important, that that parent or somebody abused that child. That's mandatory. They have to come out. But you're not thinking that somebody will come out and be unethical and write a false report. So then here's the false report, goes into the preliminary hearing. And you may have a referee or judge that may be ethical or unethical and play the game. And there's no evidence sometimes. Now, we're not talking about, and I want to make this clear, we know that kids are being abused and neglected, you guys. We know that. But we're not talking about children that's being abused and neglected a lot of times. We're talking about kids, there's no abuse and neglect. And they put it down as it is. And then once they get that kid in there and the referee don't see, well, we'll get some evidence. The allegation was this, but we will let you know. And there's nothing there, but the referee let it go. There's nothing. You guys, there's nothing. And you won't know that unless you're following along with that family. And a lot of times people will say, you know, these parents are just disgruntled. There's no way a social worker would take away a child if that parent didn't abuse that child. You guys, it's happening. And I'm telling you, these right here, we got professional attorneys here. Whether they're speaking or sitting in the audience, they know it's happening. And they have to be careful. They can only say so much. They can't even say much about their own co-workers that's doing it. Because why? they may get their license taken away. They can speak on the social workers, but they can't speak on their own co-workers that's doing it. And you know they have, you know about absolute and qualified immunity. You guys know about, right? So social workers have some kind of immunity. And we need to do something about it. We need to band together, and we need to do something about it to modify it. And I want to show you a short video of what happened to me when I was trying to get my grandchildren. And that's you all, I was in the system with my own kids. And my oldest son wanted to live with his dad. His dad owed child support. And so his dad told him to lie so he could live with him, so he wouldn't have to pay the child support. It was evidence. Now, my kid's supposed to have been beat with 2x4s, iron cores, and not starved to death. There was evidence that the kids went to the doctors, and the doctor said they had a bill of health. Nothing was wrong with them. But I still went through the system anyway, you all. Okay? And then you know what? And then they put me on the central registry for child abuse and neglect. Didn't even send me a letter and let me know. And so then when my daughter got in the system through her boyfriend or whatever, and I tried to step in, you okay? They used something that I was expunged. I got expunged from the central registry. And guess what the administrative judge called me? He called me honest. When my children was removed from me, they gave my children back to me. So why would you give, if I was abusive and I was this terrible grandmother or mother, why would you give my children back to me? That's what that one document was up there. And Molly Secor knew that I was expunged from the central registry. Information went to them. And I got stacks of books, papers showing that. This is stuff we're going through. This is a lot of stuff that we go through. Also, they said that I had acted irate or something at the U of M hospital. I called the hospital myself, and I went up there too. And I went up there to the University Hospital, and I said that I had lost my ID, and I wanted to know if somebody used my ID because to see if it was some kind of problem during the time my granddaughter was in the hospital. I gave my ID to the University Michigan police that they house inside the hospital. It's not security. So you come up here and say that I act a certain way in the hospital, but you have no evidence. They will not, the hospital will not give you evidence, a police report, if I acted like that. You guys, you have to look at these things.
I don't know what I can do for you. Oh, no, that's okay. I just probably have to see another way of getting the information. But you said June 2012, you do not see nothing in my name. No, I can't find anything to do with your name at all. So. Okay, well that's what she told me. She told me that there was nothing with my name on there at all, but about some phone call, two phone calls. I don't know what that would be, you know. Did you check? You checked under my name. You checked under Debbie Williams. Right. And it was June 2012. My daughter, she had a child in the neonatal area, and her name was Shania Michaela Jones Tucker. Yeah, I don't know. I've got nothing here. Okay, no,
In response to Mr. Kincaid's allegations, there is no recording device. What he pointed to is a speaker for computer. Nothing is being recorded or taped. If he had taken an opportunity, to ask what the device is, we would have clarified it.
You could have clarified it for me too, but thank you.
All it would have taken, instead of creating a misunderstanding, is a simple question, a simple respect for this. I do not have a motion to intervene before the court. I have a motion that says that how the DHS has not followed statutory requirements for placement. I did not ask to intervene.
You did previously.
That was
And
in May.
Yes.
This is the motion. This motion today is not that issue. However, there is some housekeeping matters I'd like to address with the court. I just received Mr. Kincaid's response about maybe 20 minutes ago. I had another matter I was working on. I have not received it prior. There are documents attached that are incomplete, including some kind of assessment, a letter dated August 6, 2010, saying a tentative denial. However, it's citing a report dated
Mr.
August
Farina,
9.
You're taking up our time.
Right.
There was a motion to intervene, and the reason I raised that was because that might have given you standing to participate in this discussion. But since it was denied, you do not have standing to participate in this discussion. The reason your motion, or the motion you originally filed, is before the court for any consideration today is because Mr. Jones's counsel said that they endorsed that motion as their own motion. So I'm willing to hear from Mr. Hamden regarding the motion, but I'm not willing to hear from you or from Ms. Williams regarding the motion.
Just for the record, my motion for the department to follow their guidelines, not a motion to intervene today, is being summarily denied. I was told I can have an opportunity to argue my motion today. It has been denied without giving me an opportunity to be heard, and Ms. Williams an opportunity to be heard. You're raising an issue of standing, which is not an issue that we've had a chance to respond to, because it's not an issue of standing. It actually, in reading a little bit of what he's presented, it's an issue of jurisdiction, and whether this court has jurisdiction. Now, if I would be afforded the same opportunity to respond to their response, instead of giving it today, I would respectfully ask the court to give me that opportunity. We did not raise an issue of standing. We cited the Michigan statutes. We are saying that the law has been broken and not followed, for the record, and that's why we're here today. We're complying with DHS. We're not saying take the custody away from DHS. We are saying DHS has broken the law, not followed the statutes. We've provided ample motion and ample brief in support of that, and a counter-argument has been brought up as to standing. We're not addressing that. That's not the issue from our perspective. If the court wants us to step out and not participate, we will gladly follow.
I'm not asking you to step out of the courtroom. I'm just asking you to sit in the gallery with non-parties.
I have no problem following what the court has to do. I have a chance to present my motion today.
No, you do not. Mr. Hamden will...
As a point of clarification, we are not referencing any motion from me. This is a separate motion, separate issues.
You're just not following what I'm saying, so I'm going to let you go ahead, Mr. Farina, and have a seat in the gallery. And Ms. Sisson, was there anything other than your written response that you wanted to place on the record?
Just as I will.
Mr. Farina, sit down now.
This is one more clarification.
Sit down.
Are you denying the motion? Is that correct?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Well, so when Ryan came to a family team meeting with me, they stated that my granddaughter, Shania, was born drug addicted, and she wasn't. And the only thing Ryan is here, right here, come here, Ryan, for a minute. He heard them in the team meeting saying that my granddaughter was born drug addicted, and she was not. And he spoke up. He said, but she said.
Yeah, there's some contradictions here, with obviously things were working against you in this situation here. But we still trying to make long story short. The fight is still on, and I know her for, like I say, about 20 years, and she's a honest person, a dedicated person, and just kind of got mixed up in the system here. And we're still working on it. We're going to resolve it, and you just got to keep the faith and keep moving on.
We're going to talk about the system, so we're going to try and move this along. And I want to bring first Reverend Frederick D. Shaw, Jr. He is a former Los Angeles County Sheriff Deputy and also part of Citizens Commission of Human Rights International. And he wants to expose the psychotropic drugs used in the foster care system. Present to you all the way from Los Angeles, okay? Reverend Frederick D. Shaw.
Thank you. Giving honor to God. I want to begin by, first of all, thanking Debbie for the fight that she is doing. Debbie asked me to come out from Los Angeles, and I came out. The thing is that I don't know what they initially said that was supposed to be the problem in the home, but let's say that there was a problem. At some point, when the person has done all that they have commanded them to do, when they have gone above and beyond what is supposed to happen and taken care of all the business, and then people can sit there and say, she didn't communicate properly. You taking people's children and grandchildren and you act like you don't understand the culture, because the one thing in our culture is when you start messing with people's children, they get excited and they get uncooperative. And I can take you back to the days when I was a child some years ago, and there was a lady who was very renowned in the community, but when it came to her children, you know, that head could get to rolling real tough, and she would stand up, and parents are supposed to stand up, and you know, so Debbie, well, first of all, Debbie, would you stand up for a minute? Y'all look at how beautiful Debbie lived today. Y'all look, you know, in the midst of all that is going on in her life right now, all that she's having to fight through, then she come up here looking like that. You know, so we want to thank her for doing what she's doing. The international spokesperson and the director of Public Affairs for the Citizens Commission on Human Rights. It is an organization that exposes psychiatric abuses. We get into how psychiatry has infiltrated the community, the words and the efforts that they've done to take the children of black and brown families. And so it is time that the people begin to understand that they're not going to get justice in the system unless we unify and demand the justice of that system. If I told you that there was a gang that was giving children drugs that would cause them to kill themselves, you would be appalled. If I told you there was a gang that was giving kids drugs that made them hallucinate and commit homicide, if I told you that there was a gang that was electroshocking babies and pregnant women, you would want them on the FBI's most wanted list. You would want them with terrorism. But then when it's in the field of mental health, we go silent. Right now, children in several states from 0 to 5 years of age is being electroshocked. We have pregnant women being electroshocked, causing miscarriages. And we sit idly by like it has nothing to do with us until it becomes our turn. Sometimes it becomes our turn, Debbie, because God knows who he got to put the burden on to get some things done. And some people, if you do the thing they did to you, they fall and crumble, and some people rise up and fight back. And what we need in this society right now is people who will rise up and fight back. And we can't sit idly by and wait till it's our turn to jump up and then want to fight back. You know, the smart people, when I was growing up, and I grew up in a gang-infested area where the Crips and the Bloods and all of that was originated in Compton and Watts and Willowbrook area, but the smart kids understood that when they came for you, I stood with you, because they're going to come for me later on. But if I stand with somebody, now I got the ground, and I got one person at least that will stand with me when they come and become my turn. If we don't stand with each other, then we always are divided and picked out of the crowd. That's how they kill off leaders. And so we must be willing to fight back. We must be willing to go up against a system that do the atrocities. One of the problems in our community, and I don't want to offend anybody, but our ministers are going to have to come out from behind the pulpit. Okay? If you have been given the calling to be the leader of your flock, and you not out there in the trenches like a good shepherd would be when his sheep are lost, then you are not fulfilling what God has told you to do, and you are not in that seat behind the pulpit to become an entertainer. You are in that seat so you can rise up and fight for what is right, and you're supposed to have the courage to go up against anyone. They say integrity is knowing that you know that you know that you know, and then having the courage to stand up for what you know. And we seem to have lost that. And our suits are more important than the pursuit of saving the people that we're supposed to be over. I have a booklet here that shows, this is Debbie copy, so don't ask for it. But if you want a copy, we can work on that. But I'm not, when you see this is a very expensive book, and so I don't give it to just anybody for, restroom reading. This is for people who are out here in the trenches trying to make a difference, trying to do something and do the call. Now, let me say this. They don't tell you that the drug Ritalin is basically the same drug as cocaine. They don't tell you that the drug Adderall is basically the same as meth. Ritalin and Adderall are the two most prescribed drugs for ADHD, but they're basically cocaine and meth, and we're giving it to the children. Now we're legalizing marijuana. I don't know your position. I don't take marijuana money. That's that 30 pieces of silver. But if they're giving kids Ritalin is cocaine, Adderall is meth, legalizing marijuana, funding the poppy fields in Afghanistan, what happened to the war on drugs? Well, I'll tell you what happened. The war on drugs became a war on you. Because money now, drugs now is big business. It's a lot of money. The pharmaceuticals have become as big nearly as the oil companies. They're moving that much drugs into the community. Now, if these drugs can cause, in fact, first let's do this. Don't even believe me. Believe the commercials. The commercials tell you that the drugs can cause suicidal thoughts and homicidal thoughts and suicidal actions. The commercial says that. The thing that's advertising it is saying these are the effects of these drugs. And don't let them get you twisted up in the game. Oh, that's the side effect. No, that is the effect. We call it side effects because that's not the intended effect, but that's what drugs do what drugs do. And so we have to understand that. And so we can't keep going along with the same old program, giving our kids these type of drugs. Let me show you something. A trap wouldn't be a trap if you could see it coming. Now, a mother puts her 2-year-old on a psychotropic drug. She notices that the child is not doing well. So the mother, over time, takes the child off the drugs. But she doesn't know her 2-year-old, who might be 3 then, has become addicted to the drug. So when you withdraw the drug, the child can't do like me and you, go break in somebody's house and get the money so we can buy some more drug. The child just goes agitated and fidgety and screams and cries, and the mother says, oh my God, I got to give her the medication. The moment she gives her the medication and the child seems to calm down, now the mother is convinced that the child needs the medication. She has no clue that her child is already addicted to these drugs. And some of these drugs can addict you very fast. So we have to know that this is the type of thing that's going on. We have to unify as parents, as clergy, and they want to talk about making America great again. Well, give it back to the parents. Let the parents be in charge of their children. I'm an ex-law enforcement officer. It has always been funny to me how if a child or a young teenager won't act up, he acts up, and I can't get him to comply, I can take a baton and hit him, I can take a taser and electroshock him. If it's really bad, or it should be if it's really bad, I can take a gun and shoot him to enforce the law. In a mental health clinic, they can give him psychotropic drugs. They can give him electroshock to make him behave. But the parent who birthed him can't even spank him. Something is wrong with this system. One of the tragedies in the community is you have an event like this, and there's 30 people here, when this thing should be overflowing, because if I was Jay-Z, you couldn't get in here. You know, if I was Will Smith, you couldn't get in here. You know, some of you older people, if I was Denzel, we couldn't get in here. But when it's an issue that affects our lives, we don't show up. All that does is tell the people who are enforcing these things that you ain't ready to do nothing about it. If you put on a protest march and you got 40 people, they look out, see 40 people, and they look back at their newspaper. If you got 4,000 people, they look out, now they want to know who's talking to them. You have to unify and show numbers. You say, well, the politicians won't listen to us. Whose fault is that? Because if you organize and put a couple of them out of office, the rest of them will listen to you. But you don't get together enough to organize so that you can make them do what you want to do when you have put them there to enforce what your needs are. It's not their needs. They listening to the lobbyists when they supposed to be listening to the community. The story of Debbie is all over America right now. It's everywhere. Kids are being taken. Articles are being done on it. But we can't get motivated. We can't see. We say, oh, we need mental health and we need this. Do you know that they've made all, Debbie, give me 5 minutes when I'm talking too long. I'm a preacher and I can feel like getting started. Usually I clear my throat in this time, you know. But it's like, let's take, for example, let me back up a little bit. Let's take a drug like Chantix. Chantix is for to stop you, help you stop smoking. But if you've ever listened to the side effects of Chantix, you wonder what's going on here. Can cause suicidal thoughts and actions. And actions. Now, why am I stopped smoking? So that I don't catch cancer 30 years from now. So why are you giving me a drug that can cause me to blow my brains out today? Because the suicidal thoughts and actions have two tricks in it. First of all, when it says in actions, that means people have done it. It's showing that they have done it. The thoughts, when they say, if you get suicidal thoughts, call your physician. Like if you gonna have a chance to. Some people don't make it to the phone. They kill themselves before they can reach out for help. And we're doing all of this in the name of health. The system that are taking these kids, let's take Department of Children and Family Services. Do you know something like 80 or 85% of the people?
Hello. I hope that you all enjoyed this informational documentary on me, Debbie Williams. It's some things that I need to clear up where you guys can call me. Like I said, next month, the number is 313-365-7379. And the other number is 313-365-7327. So you got 313-365-7327. You guys can give me a call. And I had made some statements like you've seen a video of U of M hospital security police. And I was asking for a report, and he was saying he didn't have a report to give me because there was no information written down. There was no report. But if you remember, backed up in the video in court, the young lady named Robert Richards stated that I was inside U of M hospital and I was acting irate, and I had to talk to a behavior specialist before I can come back and visit my granddaughter, which was all false. So she swore under oath, raised her hand up under oath, and told a big old fabrication. She just lied, you know. I went to U of M hospital, and if it was a report, I want to correct what I said. They would give you the report, but there was no information to give the man, so he couldn't give me a report with nothing on it. That's how they operate at U of M Hospital in Ann Arbor, the police security on the first floor. So you've seen some letters written in white. That's because when I was talking, I made some mistakes, being a little nervous. And so I corrected in the white letters. And then I also made a mistake. I was on the Central Registry in the past, and I got off of it. I did appeal, and I got off of it. So the administration judge took me off the Central Registry for child abuse and neglect. Okay, and I said that the courts, well, they did not honor. They did not respect that, Molly Secor, and they should have. So I'm about to wrap up, because once you're off the Central Registry, there's nothing to stop a parent, a grandparent, whoever it is, to get their family members, their children, their grandchildren, because that shows that you didn't do anything. So I want to say thank you for sitting down, taking the time, watching this video. And remember, you can see this video on the download WHBR TV, and that will be on Roku, Apple TV, Facebook. You can see it on YouTube and Amazon Echo and Alexa and different ones. And again, I want to say happy holiday. Thank you for allowing me to come into your car, your home, wherever you at. And thank you so much. And the day is December the 24th, 2020. Thank you.